Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time once again for The Johnny Mandolin Show, broadcasting live on City World Radio Network. Tonight I have two great guests on for you. I have author Ryan Long and the amazing jazz guitar player, New York City favorite, Larry Luger. Larry will be here too, so stand around, sit around, enjoy, don't touch that mouse, because we're coming at you on City World Radio with Johnny Mandolin. To the Johnny Mandolin Show. This is Johnny Mandolin, enjoying our time on the air and having a good time. We've got our wonderful, beautiful, talented Jade at the board running our board and keeping us on the air and honest. And I want to welcome you to City World Radio. You know, we have some great shows here for you. We're on 24/7, so you're never without content. So always tune in, stay on City World, and enjoy the broadcasts. We have a good time. All right, to the mic, I want to bring a friend of mine who is an author, a humorist, an attorney, and a good guy to hang out with at the bar, and that's Mr. Ryan Long. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great. Good to talk to you again. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm in LA. It's kind of steaming here, and I heard it's steaming in New York. But,
oh, mamma mia! Hot and humid.
Yeah, mama. Hot and well, here it's hot and dry, but. New York, you have your eye candy on the street, so that's good. That's good thing about New York.
Oh yes, absolutely. Now let me ask you a question. Why are you in LA? Because you're mostly a East Coast guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. I had a case in February in New York City for a designer client, actually a criminal case, and then I'm back out here. I'm helping my mom. She's been alone, so came back out. I moved back out here like about 2 years ago, but I split my time. So that's kind of my shtick right now, at least.
Well, I do the same thing. I live bi-coastally. I have a home in Southern California and in Manhattan in New York City, and I work both coasts. I have clients on both coasts, too. Now, tell us a little bit about your legal work. We're going to talk about your authorship and your writings, but legally, you're a multi-bar lawyer, and you do certain different practices. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I primarily do intellectual property stuff. So I work with fashion designers. One of my clients, A Piece Apart. They're based in New York. They do some really great stuff. They're kind of like J. Crew goes to Scandinavia. I'm worked with in the technology realm. I worked with a company called Legend Sky. They're in China. So in the tech world, I've been doing some litigation, some licensing work. And in the media world, I worked with Situation Marketing. They're in New York City. I help them with a lot of their corporate work. So I basically, in my practice, John, I just try to keep people out of court, keep people out of disputes, and try to keep their plumbing proper so that the toilet flushes.
Hey, I hear you. Well, that's a big thing in the world of IP, which I also work in, and that's that you want to make sure that it's like walking through a landmine. It's not to know so much where to walk, but where not to walk. So it gets
right.
complex.
No, it's true.
Now, in your fashion design work, are you advising on copyright and trademark, or are you more on the licensing of the property or the brand?
That's a good question. Recently, it's been like corporate work, like helping companies set up their lemonade stand, help them with who owns how much of the lemonade, and when they hire contractors to help them with the lemonade stand, if you will, basically what are the contractors going to get paid, how they're going to get paid. So just kind of compensation issues, and also like tax issues. There's like this 83B thing where if you get so much percentage in the company now, and the company's evaluated a lot, you're going to get taxed on that now if you're a contractor, which is important to know.
Yes.
So there's a way you can basically defer it so that you only get taxed on the appreciation later on down the line. It's called the 83B election, which is very valuable. So I help companies set those things up with their employees or their contractors. And also IP issues, whoever they hire, making sure all the contracts are done. So That's kind of what I've been doing recently, not much licensing.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great, and it's important work. And you never want to do anything after the fact in IP. You want to be ahead of the game, not behind the 8 ball. So
after the milk's kind of spilled, it's hard to put it back in.
That's very true. Very true. Hey,
Good to keep the milk in the refrigerator.
Yes, keep it fresh. And let's talk a little bit about your writing, because this is something kind of new and something that you've really expanded into. You're basically a political humorist. Is that correct?
Well, I stopped doing that. I was doing so my website's called Quality Filth. I started that in 2016, and I was doing some humor to try to kind of just make fun of everything that was going on. Because if you look at the media market, like in New York, they don't really make fun of Democrats, and then there's really not too much humor on the other side that makes fun of, there's a lot of humor about the Republicans and not a lot of humor about Democrats. And most people in the country, if you look at studies, are actually pretty moderate. They like a little bit of right, a little bit of left. So in 2016, I started Quality Filth, and what I did is I have written 7 crime thrillers, and what I did was I had characters from my books interview public figures. Trump, I had an interview with Clinton. I mean, you name it, I had them on there. And it did pretty well. It was tough getting subscribers because I was self-financing it. But, when people heard my stuff, they liked it and they laughed. But to get out there in the market, you need a pretty big budget. So I stopped doing that. Now I have the same website, but now I just make fun of the news. Any news story that comes out I find funny. Not any. I do the same thing every month. I'll have like 2 or 3 interviews with my characters. One of my characters interviewed a black hole recently. There's some isotopes coming into Alaska. So I try to make the interviews humorous but also educational. Same thing before, like when I was doing the political satire, I was doing like one interview a week, John. But I try to educate too the readership of like the issues. I'd have links to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, or to independent newspapers, and so the purpose is to make it humorous, but also kind of educational. And the same thing with what I'm doing now. So I stopped doing the political stuff. People are too serious and they don't know how to chill out, I think, and kind of see themselves in a humorous way. So now I just do some news, and it's kind of like a hobby. So that's kind of what I do on the side.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to read it. I've been following your work for a long time, and I've read pretty much everything you've written that you've published. And I would encourage people to look at the kind of the wit that you put into it and the humor, which is really fun to read. And can they get that on your website? All of that's still published on your website?
Yeah. If they go to qualityfilth.com, they'll see, like, I just revamped it. So now it's just all news fit for satire. I used to call it all politics fit for satire. And basically what I try to do, like, when I was growing up, John, like, my idols were Saturday Night Live. Like John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Gilda Radner, like they were amazing. And so I try to make this site kind of like a National Lampoon a little bit. so that it's kind of wacky, but then also kind of it's supposed to be humorous as well, of course. So I kind of did it differently now, and now I just take major news stories and make fun of them. But I stay away from politics. I think the closest I got recently, John, did you read about the guy, the FBI agent who did flips and his gun fell out of his pants?
That one I haven't seen, but that's pretty good.
Okay, so there's an FBI agent. He was off duty, and he had a loaded 9mm Glock in the back of his pants. And you can Google this and find it. And there's a video of this guy doing a dance move, which is really cool. But, when he did his dance move, he did a flip, and the gun fell out and went off and hit somebody.
Oh, my God. That's not fun.
Yeah. And so, that could have been a kid. It could have shot somebody in the head. And so I did a skit where I did an interview between one of my characters and BBC, because BBC produces Dancing with the Stars. And it was like a kind of satirical skit where the BBC puts on a dance class for FBI agents and how to dance with their pistols. So,
I love it. See, that's good humor.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I think so. People, the FBI right now, they've been taking a lot of heat for a lot of stuff. But to me, if you can't call out somebody for doing something like this that can potentially kill somebody, and then I don't know what this country's about. But the guy got his gun back, which is to me troubling. Listen, we all do stupid things. God knows I've done massively stupid things in my life. But, anyway, so I try to do stuff like that. That was the closest recently I got to any type of political, but that's really apolitical. That's just like somebody doing something kind of. So, yeah, qualityfelt.com. I just started up. It's $9.99 for a subscription for the year, which is, nothing. And then you get like 2 or 3 interviews a month for that. So.
Yeah, well worth the money and well worth the laughs. And how about now, do you also, can they reach you from a legal standpoint there, or do you have a separate legal website?
Oh, yeah, separate legal, yeah. And by the way, John, there's no cussing on Quality Filth, so I don't use any cuss words. It's clean humor. It's dry humor, which some people have said, maybe I'll flop with this, John. I don't know. I'm going to give it a run this year. But, it's like Americans, like, they kind of like extreme humor, but this is a little more nuanced and dry. Mm-hmm. But, it's meant for adults or 18 and over, but it's not like, there's no violence in it. There's no cussing. So it's pretty, chill. In any event, yeah, my law website is Landa PLLC, LANDA PLLC, and you can see my practice there. I'm basically like a glorified solo. I have 2 buddies I've worked with here and there. They're of counsels. So that's my website. And you can see some of my writings. I'm affiliated with Stanford Law School. It's called the Stanford Center for Internet Society. So I write about technology issues and how they affect society or business. And you can see some of my writings in the blog there at that website.
And I would encourage you to check these websites out, because one thing I found out about Ryan, besides the fact he's a great friend, is the fact that he's really smart and he knows what he's talking about. So I would definitely, pursue that, check it out. And if you have issues, make sure you talk with him, because he's really good at this stuff. And do you have any plans to do any other media with your writing? Would you like to do video, or possibly, I know you've done some radio here with us, and or maybe, do you have any plans on podcasts with that?
That's a good question, John. All this takes money, and so I would need like some investor or something, because, to do like books on tape, even for Quality Filth, to really buy advertising and get the word out, it takes a good amount of money. And I put time. If you look at the website and the content, my content from the years is like not available right now. I might put it up for people who subscribe. But you'll see all the work I put into this. And to do stuff like different media, yeah, I love to. I love to do I did a blockchain event in Copenhagen. I presented at the University of Copenhagen, and also I presented recently to some intellectual property lawyers here about blockchain, which everybody hears about and nobody really knows what it is. Mm-hmm. And I love to do more of that, but it just takes somebody that wants to put some money behind it to get it going. So that's kind of answer your question. But yeah, my book stuff, I love to be able to make a movie out of this stuff. I think having an independent house produce it would be cool to make some indie movies. So kind of lower budget but higher revenue kind of idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, That would be great. I mean, right now I'm just kind of focusing on my writing, which is kind of insane because, I mean, I'm not out there like I could probably make a lot of book sales if I went in front of the city hall in New York City naked with one of my books, and I'd probably get a lot of press. But I right now I'm just trying not to do stuff like that. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week. Well, good luck with that. Well, and what was your last book called?
The last book is called Confessions of Quiet Winners.
Okay. And synopsis?
1 second. There's a ambulance going by here.
That's okay. We're in New York.
The synopsis is it's two boys from Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, and they have a plan to prevent World War III.
Yeah, I read that synopsis. That was great, man. That's really good.
Yeah, that's a short synopsis. I mean, the kind of trick is that both of them are from Brighton Beach, but one of them is from a Russian family, and the other one is from an old American family, but they're really best friends. And after 9/11, one joins the CIA, another after there's a attack in Moscow, he goes back to Moscow to take care of his family. He joins what's called the GRU, which is the Russian equivalent of the CIA. But throughout the book, you see they kind of remain friends, and it's really like a satire, and they're both kind of from crime families.
Yeah,
so that's another stickler to it. All my books are crime thrillers, so it involves these crime families that go throughout time. So the same families they're in, you could read about them in 1800s in another book. So they go throughout time, and they're kind of like a syndicate of crime families.
Wow.
And then they're satire, but they make kind of fun of some of the things that have happened in a lighthearted way. But that's the kind of nature of the book. They have a plan to prevent World War III. The CIA agent, they put him in a sane asylum because they think he's crazy. They send him on a kind of a suicidal mission to Afghanistan, where actually he survives miraculously by actually befriending some of the kind of characters over there by saving one of their daughter's lives. And his name is Dodgy Bond. So he's kind of like imagine James Bond, but kind of like a stoner, like Beach Boy version of him.
That's pretty good. I love that. That's so creative. I'm glad you've pursued this, because I remember years ago when we were talking about it, and this was an idea germinating, and here you've got it going, and it's great. I have to tell our listeners, it's really fun to read Ryan's work. It's really, you start reading it, you can't put it down. It's really good stuff. So
yeah, that's the idea, man. I mean, I think the problem is people have so much. I don't know what it is. Maybe Americans aren't good at laughing at themselves, but I try to poke fun at things, and people can think of it as dangerous or something, but I don't think it is. But I mean, the book kind of calls it. Remember Bush called them weapons of mass destruction.
Yes.
Well, I call them weapons of mass distraction. So, I mean, things like that, like little twists. I call Bush gin rush. Like Obama's called a rock drama. And then Trump is called Flock of Seagull. Mm-hmm. So, I have, these names for everybody. But the primary story, and it makes fun of the hacking story. It goes into a little bit of computer science of how you can mask yourself. John, you can get hacked by me. I can be living right next door to you, and I can make it look like it's coming from your daughter.
Yeah, or you can make it look like it's coming from Russia or China too.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot of ways to do that, but the best hackers, you have no idea who they are. And another thing this story kind of brings out, and this is true technology, is that my IP address, when I go and log on, an IP address is your internet service protocol. So when I log on to the internet from my house, I have an IP address. But then there's ways to mask that so that I can mask my IP address under 40 other IPs. And then, use your daughter's IP, and then before you figure out who I am, you have to go through 30 IP addresses.
Yes.
So it's really, when you go in the world of internet and hacking, it's very difficult. And the story makes fun of that because one of the chapters is called Bestiality Leaks. And what happens is he's getting picked on, and the story takes place in Brighton Beach. And the American, his little brother gets picked on in high school by these guys. They try to beat him up and all this stuff. So somebody you have to find out who it is, hacks these kids that are doing this and plants a bunch of bestiality photos on their emails. So it looks like they're having sex with like cows and different types of animals.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and it's their images. Actually, it's like them. It's pictures of them, literally like with animals. And so they get reported to the DA and they get charged with bestiality, which is actually like a misdemeanor or something. So it's kind of far-fetched, but it just shows you the power of people who know what they're doing and how what they can do with it.
Yeah, hacking's very dangerous. Very dangerous. Well, Ryan, how long are you going to be in LA? Are you heading back to New York anytime soon?
Not anytime soon. I mean, not anytime soon. My next trip's going to Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And the narrator actually of this book is Irish. The book I just mentioned, he's a psychiatrist seeing the dodgy Bond character. So actually, a lot of my characters are Irish. Like my next book, it's called Bon Voyage Vietnam. You could see it on Quality Filth. If you go to Satirical Crime Thrillers, you'll see the picture there. His name is last name is Egan. I'm having a brain freeze. Anyway, it's the Egan family. They're an Irish family, and Mickey Egan, that's his name, Mickey Egan Jr. So I'm going to Ireland kind of like to do some character research, but if you check out the Bon Voyage Vietnam, you'll see Mickey Egan Jr., and he's actually the son of a crime boss from Boston who fought against the Nazis in my second book.
Wow. Super. Well, good cohesive story plot there. I like that. Well, again, first of all, we're listening to Ryan Long, author and attorney. And Ryan, it's great to talk to you again. Maybe I'll see you in L.A., and if not, when you're back in New York, I'm sure we'll hook up. And if you are in New York, we'll have you come in studio. So I appreciate you being.
I want to hear some. I need some mandolin playing, man.
Hey, I got it. Go to JohnnyMandolin.com. It's there. But I definitely.
I need it live. I need it live with some sambuca.
There, hey, like we did last time. That's good. I like that. Well, listen, have a great time in L.A., and thanks for being on the Johnny Mandolin Show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Right, and everybody check out Ryan, check out QualityFilth.com, get a good laugh, and see how much fun this guy is to read. All right, thanks, Ryan.
Guys, anybody who wants to check out my stuff, if they have any comments, please email the email link there with any comments of how to improve your experience or any feedback.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again. Have a great day, and thanks for being on the Johnny Mandolin Show.
Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And that was Ryan Long, author, lawyer. This guy's really smart. I mean, he has. I think he's a lawyer in like 12 states, passed all these bars, and he's also a great writer. And as you can see, he's a great guy to hang out with. We sat at a bar at our one of our favorite bars in New York called Arturo's. Jazz bar and pizza place, and I had the mandolin, and we sat there at the bar, and I played mandolin, and we drank sambuca. It was a fun time. Well, you're listening to the Johnny Mandolin Show here on City World Radio Network, and we're very fortunate to have our next guest, who's in studio, came all the way from New York City to New York City, because that's where we broadcast from, in Manhattan, and also he will be here all month long because I'm going to be taking a little vacation / business trip, and so Mr. Larry Luger is going to be hosting the Johnny Mandolin Show for the whole month of August. So to the mic, let's bring the talented jazz guitarist, New York's favorite, Larry Luger. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you back.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, so Larry is local musician and a renowned worldwide musician, has many CDs out.
And I like to add that I'm a native New Yorker, a genuine native New Yorker.
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah.
And Larry records for Sexton Records, and he's also performing all over New York City and other places too. So if you're in the city, check out LarryLuger.com and go see him live. But for now, Larry, you brought some great music with you, didn't you?
Yeah. By the way, my website, www.LarryLuger.com, check that out. And I'm playing at the Hotel Edison on Tuesday. If you want to come by at 4 o'clock, if you're in the area of 46th Street in Midtown Manhattan and Broadway. And Tuesday night, I'll be with the great Sandy Jordan. We've been many years at a place called La Revista. Tuesday night at La Revista. That's on 46th Street, right off 8th Avenue. The food is great, and that's La Vista on 46th Street off 8th Avenue Tuesday night from 8 to 12. And I also frequently play at Nobby's on 127th Street and Adam Clayton Boulevard. It's a well-known place in Harlem. It's a fun place, and we hit there at 7:30. And I'm always doing different things, so you can check out my website and find out more.
Yeah, now Larry is also a recording artist and has many CDs out, and he also has he's the leader of several different group configurations.
Aggregations. Aggregate, yeah. But
what shall we hear first?
Well, as I always say, when I do a CD, I like to have a different concept. So my original CD on Sexton Records, which did very well, was jazz organ, drums, and guitar. And then I did one with upright bass, drums, and guitar. And my third one, I get a lot of requests for the some of the songs on my third one, so you're going to listen to some of them now. My third one had flute and clarinet on different selections, a wonderful female vocalist doing the background, and drums, bass, and myself playing rhythm guitar. I overdubbed my solos after we laid down the rhythm track, so you're actually hearing two guitars, flute sometimes, clarinet sometimes, and I did all the writing. The first song I get a lot of requests for, you're going to hear right now, is Song for Augusta. We hope you enjoy it.
Larry Luger, Song for Augusta. I have to tell you, that really is one of my favorite songs you wrote, and you've written a lot of songs.
Yeah, I particularly like this arrangement because Greta, the lady who was singing, her name is Greta Heron, and she really is a soprano, and it sounds so nice with the clarinet, and the violin was played by another very talented lady, Kathleen Scarborough, on the violin. I always like the sound of guitar with a violin. Many years ago, it was done in classic jazz with Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli, and even before that, Joe Venuti and Eddie Lang made really pioneer records in early jazz. But it sounds good in any style of jazz you play, I guess, because of the sonority of strings, you know.
Yeah, you have the difference in the
range,
octave range, but you have the similarity in the strings.
And that came out really nice. I also get a lot of requests for this little blues in a minor key that I wrote. It's called Larry's Blues in C minor.
Yeah, Larry Luger.
That was Larry's Blues in C minor. Once again, that was Tom Olin on flute, and a wonderful drummer named Gregory Buford, great drummer, and the wonderful Dave Hofstra on the bass. And as I said, I laid down a rhythm guitar track and then soloed over it, so you're actually hearing two guitars in the ensemble.
And you know, one of the interesting things about that song is how tight the flute and the guitar are together. Those lines are not easy to play.
Yeah, Tom and I played together a lot. And the next song I want you to hear is another one that I get a lot of requests for. It's using the chord changes to Pennies from Heaven. I wrote a different line over it. And this will also feature Tom Olin, and it's called Change in Pennies. in pennies. And the title of this particular CD, which is the most recent I did for Mr. John Anello on Sexton Records.
I've heard of that label.
Is called Thank You for Your Patience. That's the title. And the title track, of course, is called Thank You for Your Patience. And it's a little out of the ordinary. I wrote words for it and sang it. And it's a little tribute to a real, how should I say, a character who's known for his humor and his quacky sense of looking at things, the way he looks at the world. And he has an expression where he always goes, "Thank you for your patience." So I wrote a song for, his name is Bob Arkin, great bass player. He happens to be the brother of the famous actor Alan Arkin. And you're going to hear that now. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. You really have been kind. All right. I must say this acquaintance has been so sublime. I thank you for your time. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for your patience. I really dig your mind. Now your sophistication compliments mine. So very refined, like a burgundy wine. Acquaintance has been so sublime. I thank you for your time. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for your patience. I really dig your mind. Now your sophistication compliments mine. Very refined, like a burgundy wine. Thank you for your patience. All right.
Larry Luger. That was great, man. You're a good singer, too. Do you know that?
Yeah, well, I keep working at that, too. And scatting, it's a funny thing. I was always a fan of perhaps the greatest scat singer, Ella Fitzgerald.
Ella.
When I was a kid, my sister and I would watch her on TV. And many years later, I just happened to find out that Ella Fitzgerald's birthday is April 25th, and my birthday is April 25th too. Is that something?
How about that? The stars align.
She's one of the reasons I play music.
Yeah.
So maybe there is something to
could be something under the stars.
But what a pleasant surprise that was to find that out. And I really dig. The more I learn about Ella Fitzgerald, she was so good, so musical, and
her voice was an instrument.
And that's what I'm working out with my singing, to be able to play an idea on the guitar and then sing in unison with it. I'm working at that, and at several jobs I've been doing up at the New Harlem restaurant and also at Nobby's. the leader says, I get a lot of requests up there to scat. It goes over very well. And, of course, Louis Armstrong invented scatting. But you can't sing while you're playing the trumpet. But other people, several bass players did it.
Slam
Stewart, and a bass player whose nickname was Mule. I forget his real name, but they called him Mule. He also did it. And, of course, the great George Benson scats and sings. So I have a great bunch of people to be inspired by.
It's a nice skill, and it really adds a lot to the music.
It adds another color.
Yes, exactly.
And by the way, the word I was trying to think of before and describing Bobby Orkin is he's an eccentric. It's a nice way of saying he's a nut job, but we love him. He's the type of guy. I told the story once before where you call him up for a job and say, Bob, can you play August 10th at such and such a place? He says, pardon me while I get my calendar. Then there's a 2-minute lull. He comes back to the phone and he goes, thank you for your patience. And that's where I got the idea for the song. And it's interesting how you get ideas for songs. I worked many years ago with a very talented lady who has passed away, Mamie Watts. And Mamie Watts wrote a famous blues that was a big hit for Joe Williams. Famous singer Joe Williams had a big hit in the 50s. This is way before I was playing, but it's called All Right, Okay, You Win, I'm in Love with You.
Yeah.
It's a big hit. I still sing it. All right, okay, you win. I'm in love with you. Very famous blues. And the story is that she used to hang out with a great saxophone player I also used to work with named George Kelly. These were older. They're all gone now. But George would always say, okay, you'd say, George, you want to go for a ride? Okay. George, you want a cup of coffee? Okay. It was everything was okay. And that's where she got the idea. So,
cool.
We can, And I was delighted because for a while, Mamie was having a hard time proving that she wrote the song. There's always a lot of trouble with copyright.
Tell me about it.
And I recently saw in a little fake book that had that song, All Right, Okay, that her name is up there, so her grandkids get some money. Because it was a very popular song.
Great
so
song. Huge.
Anytime anybody plays it anywhere in the world on the radio or anything, she gets something. But the lesson there is that you never know what's going to inspire you to write a song.
Right.
And anything you think of, like a lot of great writers. Someone just the other day was telling me Duke Ellington would go up to a waiter and say, do you have a napkin and a pen? Just give me a napkin, because he had an idea and he wanted to write it down. Because what happens sometimes, even with melodic things, I'll wake up with a little lick, a riff on my mind, or a melodic motif, whatever you want to call it, and I write it down right away because you may forget it.
Yeah. I used to sleep with a little tape recorder,
Yeah.
and I'd dream a melody, and I'd sing it in there because I'd forget it the next morning. And I got some really weird stuff, but sometimes I got a good one.
Well, sometimes if you hit the vino a little too hard, you'll go, oh, man, I got a great idea. And a wonderful composer tells the story that he had a great idea. He went downstairs and wrote it down. And he realized it was the verse to Stardust. In other words, it was somebody that happens sometimes. You realize it's not your original idea. That story comes from Benny Golson. He was a great jazz composer, and that even happens to people like that. You realize, hey, somebody else already came up with that.
Yeah, it happens.
But the next thing I want you to listen to is to prove that we get ideas. We kind of segue into this logically, with a continuity, because jazz is a wonderful music. You could play jazz. You could use any theme as a basis for improvisation. For example, Miles Davis used a song called Fran Dance, which was really like a nursery rhyme, and made a jazz classic out of it. And a lot of the traditional jazz musicians used to use gospel songs. So on my record, which is called, on my CD, which is called The Larry Luger Trio, Larry Luger meets Mr. Time. That's Angelo Ferrara on drums, myself on guitar, and John DeCesare on bass. I decided to open up with a traditional New Orleans it's a gospel song, and it's the song that was traditionally played at a funeral. It would be played slowly, and then on the way back, fast.
And I want to remind everybody you're listening to City World Radio Network, the Johnny Mandolin Show. Our sponsor, Sexton Records, that's Cexton, Sexton with a C. And I also want to remind you that Larry Luger will be the guest host all August long here on the Johnny Mandolin Show. So make sure you tune in every week. We'll be playing some great music. We want to say thank you for being on the air, listening.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for your patience. Thanks for listening to us as we broadcast. It's been a great night. We're going to go out with this song from Larry Luger. And thanks again to Jade, our engineer. Larry, thank you. And let's listen to Larry all month long.
Hi, I'm Janice Ian. Do you remember how excited you were at the start of summer every year, and how the summer just started to drag on after a few months, and you couldn't wait to get back to school, see your old friends, make new friends, get new books and a new locker and a clean slate? Well, you should have been excited about music class, too, because that was a special room where you went to sing, perform with your friends, and learn all kinds of interesting stuff about great composers, instruments, different kinds of music and songs. We remember our music teachers because they were so passionate about helping us learn to love music. They helped to spark a love for listening to notes and voices and rhythms that continues to enrich our lives even today. I bet your kids feel the same way about music class. Ask them, and make sure they get involved with music in school and in their lives.
A PSA brought to you by MENC, the National Association for Music Education, and the National Anthem Project, the campaign to restore America's voice through music education. Music, part of a sound education.
Today's entertainment has been brought to you in part by Galito's Restaurant. Galito's specializes in Portuguese cuisine. In addition to these delicacies, Galito's offers pasta, steaks, seafood, and chops. A full-service bar includes wines, beers, and spirits to complement your meal. Galito's offers casual ambiance at the bar or their dining room. Galito's also has a private banquet room for social events with a party package to accommodate your budget. Galito's also offers seasonal cafe seating. Galito's is located at 29 Elm Avenue in Mount Vernon, New York, conveniently located across from the Mount Vernon East train station. You can call Galito's at area code 914-668-0100. Once again, the number is area code 914-668-0100 for information or reservations, or go to the website at www.galitosrestaurant.com. Enjoy your dining experience. Voted #1 jazz cabaret club by New York Magazine, the Metropolitan Room is one of the most critically acclaimed venues in New York City and is known as the home for big-name talents and rising stars. Known as a celebrity hangout, the Metropolitan Room is a high-end cabaret and jazz club and brings the best in live music to New York City every night of the week. Fabulous award-winning Broadway, TV, film, and radio performers take the stage in an intimate 115-seat elegant venue. Aside from the great, highly professional artistic shows and audience, Metropolitan Room provides an exceptional appetizer and dessert menu as well as exotic and specialty drinks prepared by top New York City bartenders. The Metropolitan Room is located at 34 West 22nd Street, conveniently located near public transportation. For information or reservations, call area code 212-206-0440. Once again, the area code is 212-206-0440. Or go to their website at www.metropolitanroom.com. Voted #1 jazz cabaret club by New York Magazine, the Metropolitan Room is one of the most critically acclaimed venues in New York City and is known as the home for big-name talents and rising stars. Known as a celebrity hangout, the Metropolitan Room is a high-end cabaret and jazz club and brings the best in live music to New York City every night of the week. Fabulous award-winning Broadway, TV, film, and radio performers take the stage in an intimate 115-seat elegant venue. Aside from the great, highly professional artistic shows and audience,